peace must be our goal and our guide. And all that we strive for as a human family, dignity and hope, progress and prosperity, depends on peace. But peace depends on us.
Good afternoon, viewers. I want to take a few minutes in the Africa School of Thought. I want to say a few points regarding the situation of the Chief Justice in the Republic of Kenya. The Chief Justice is part of the governance of the people of Kenya. He is one arm of the governance of the Republic of Kenya. The Chief Justice has never convened or tried to convene a meeting between the President, the Speaker of National Assembly, and himself to find out the weakest link in the fight in the governance of the people of Kenya. It is therefore very shameful for the whole Chief Justice of the Republic of Kenya to use a platform, external platform, to announce a regime change proceeds using the platforms of international civil society to dismember the government of the Republic of Kenya. As a Pan-African, I feel sorry and saddened by the events that are taking place in the judiciary of the Republic of Kenya. The President or the executive has done its best. It has given the funding that is needed to fight corruption. Every time the agencies that fight corruption arrange, indict, and deliver a suspect in the courts of the Republic of Kenya, the same judiciary that the Chief Justice represents, the same judiciary that the Chief Justice says it is very perfect, releases these people at times on flimsy reasons, blocks the route of justice, obstructs justice. The case of the former Deputy Chief Justice, Lady Mwiru, who was found who should have taken a plea, but because of the problems that the judiciary has and the weaknesses, the incompetences that the judiciary has, the Lady Justice Mwiru was allowed to petition the DCI and DPP's application and a charge. She never took a charge, a plea in the normal courts. Of course, the events are much bigger than what we see today. It is sorry state that the Chief Justice is the one who can mention about the failure, yet the word failure is actually associated with the judiciary of the Republic of Kenya. Everybody in the judiciary knows, every Kenyan, young or old, knows that there is a problem with the Chief Justice. I take one example. For the Chief Justice to talk about the nullified elections, that dynasties collected themselves in kingdoms, in business entrepreneurs, win an election, shows to you that he has something that is against the current administration of President Uhuru Kenyatta. I therefore call upon the international community not to listen to the side that actually weakened the fight against corruption in Kenya, but help the Kenyan people to fight corruption. Because the weakest link, which all of us know, is the judiciary in Kenya. If the Chief Justice was pleasing the civil society funders, the NGOs that gathered in Oxford, let them hear this message, that it is him and him alone. It is his incompetency, the lack of direction, the lack of leadership, the poor leadership qualities, the lack of pointing out the mistakes in law. The law itself that the Chief Justice talks about is the one to recommend which type of law. He can also suggest to the other two arms of government that the laws in Kenya surrounding cases of corruption are weak. But as usual, he has been a weakest link, remains a weakest link. Who is plotting, who is planning, who is trying to execute a foreign instigated plan against the Jubilee government. Thank you very much, viewers. That is a statement as far as the situation of Kenya is concerned. The Chief Justice, therefore, is plotting a coup, a constitutional coup, because he is trying to blackmail the leadership of the Republic of Kenya. Thank you very much, viewers. God bless you.
A very good morning to you, and thank you so much for joining us today. This is the Friday edition of Good Morning Africa, coming to you all the way from the Kenya's capital in Nairobi. My name is Miriam Ogutu, and Dr. Matanga will be joining me shortly. So I just want us to go through quickly what is making headlines in the Kenyan newspapers, and then we come back to African news stories. And we have a lot in store for you. We'll be looking at the Democratic Republic of Congo and what is the latest in terms of the militia group that has been terrorizing, residents in some parts of the DRC, and what, measures the government has taken to curb that. And also we'll go to Ghana, where now it emerges that Ghana has closed over some parts of Ghana, over 100 foreign-owned, shops. And we saw that happening in June. This is not the first time that has happened. And especially in June, the shops that were really targeted were the shops that were, owned by Nigerians. And owing to this continental trade agreement that was signed to make sure that Africa becomes one economic bloc, and West Africa countries, they want to have even one currency come next year called ECO, and all this, looking at all this and what is happening, what do this mean in the largest scale of things, and what's really happening there. So we will look at that story from Ghana. And also Algeria. Protesters are still protesting and now are calling for even larger demonstrations. So I'll let you know what's really happening there. And Ethiopia, some deaths have been reported there. What is the matter? Is things getting out of hand for Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed? Is he able to handle things? Will he able to live to the expectation, especially after receiving the Nobel Peace Prize, because of his efforts in uniting and bringing peace and sort of between Ethiopia Ethiopia and its longtime neighbor turned for Eritrea. So that peace that he brought to Eritrea is now being threatened in his own country, in Ethiopia. Will he be able to handle this? And what really is happening there in Ethiopia? We will talk about it. We move to South Africa, and apparently, Julius Malema has been cleared from the course for something he had done earlier. I'll let you know in details. And in Guinea, thousands of Guineans rallied yesterday in support of President Alpha Conde's third term bid. What is really happening here in Africa? Remember, he's been wanting to change the constitution because his second and final term ends next year. But President Alpha Conde of Guinea, has been thinking it's a very wise idea for him to change the constitution so that he continues to serve the people of Guinea, and those sentiments have been met with a lot of, protest since the last 2 weeks. And so yesterday there was a rally in support of the president to change the constitution and the country to have a referendum and for him to be allowed a third term. This is quite interesting. So we will look at that. And also in Malawi, remember the elections that happened in May. Peace has not completely returned in Malawi, and there has been calls for the electoral body there to resign and all of it to be overhauled. So I'll give you the latest. And also we look at Biafra, some sentiments by Mr. Nnamdi Kanu, the leader of indigenous people of Biafra. There's something he said yesterday, and we will talk about it. And we will look at Ambazonia as well. Apparently there has been a health center that is quite helpful to the people of Ambazonia, there, the southwest region, that has been partially burned. I don't know why even people think it's okay to burn hospitals. So apparently the people who perpetrated this heinous act have not been, their identities have not been confirmed. So we will talk about it. Of course, we continue with the countdown. 11 days to go towards South Sudan's peace agreement and unity government forming. And what is happening now, of course, Riek Machar has come out and said he requires another extension. This extension's until when? So we will talk about it. And there are floods, in very serious floods there that has affected 27 flood-affected areas. That is now has been declared. South Sudan government has declared a state of emergency. See, we have a lot to talk about, so please stay there. But first, of course, charity begins at home, or I don't know how you say it out there. So I'll have to take us through first what is making headlines in Kenya by looking at our local newspapers. I'll not get into the details of it. I'll do that when Dr. Matanga joins. So I'll just take us quickly to what is making headlines in our newspapers today. And we start with the Standard newspaper, where at the front pages there it says, did the CS fake a 4 billion Kenya shillings health kit contract, and a Dutch company hired to supply medical equipment to hospitals in a 63 billion Kenya shillings program disowns cost of items tabled in Parliament by Ministry of Health, saying they were paid 900 million Kenya shillings less than stated. Oh my God. So this is another scandal at the Ministry of Health. And if you want to know the details of this, you go to page 6 of the Standard newspaper. Oh, this is quite interesting. As if having an NHIF scandal was not enough, and now this. Maybe I should just read a line of that so that we get the gist of it. While a Dutch company hired to supply medical equipment to hospitals in a 63 billion Kenya shillings program has publicly disowned a price list tabled in Parliament by the Ministry of Health. Philips Medical Systems, Netherlands, BV, was initially contracted by the government to deliver intensive care unit equipment at a cost of 3.6 billion, but after variations, the cost shot up to 4.5 billion Kenya shillings. Philips Business Development Director Rolf Assis said the pricing for the items according to the contract was different from the Healthier Sicily Karaoke's tabled in documents marked as Annex 14. Okay, all right. So another scandal there rocking the Ministry of Health. So let's see. We'll be following this very, very keenly and see how this will work out. And still on the front pages of the Standard newspaper, 4 women fight over ex-bank boss assets. And one of the women wants the body of the former Equity Bank CEO John Kagema exhumed to harvest DNA to determine whether he fathered her 2 sons. This is something else. It has become like a trend here. Women decide to have children or be secretly married or have affairs, and then when somebody dies, especially these prominent people, it becomes something very embarrassing. So now he wants the body of this person to be exhumed so that a DNA test can be done to ascertain that the deceased was the father of her 2 children. Interesting. We look at the Daily Nation there, and it says Uhuru and Ruto fight for control of Parliament. And it continues to say that senators will next week vote to adopt or reject Treasury's push to raise Kenya's debt ceiling to 9 billion Kenya shillings. The DP's allies have vowed to shoot down the proposal, which is clear to the president, which is very dear to the president, and who has the numbers. So that story is on page 4 of the daily newspaper. And up there, Moi's health is getting better. There was some scare and some news here at the beginning of this week that was a bit scary about the status of the health of our former president. That is the second president of Kenya. Former president, retired President Daniel Arap Moi, and now it is said that he is responding well to treatment, and says source at City Hospital at his press secretary asks Kenyans to shun speculation. So people are really worried about Moi's health there. So apparently he's doing well, and that is according to his press secretary. And also still on the front pages of the Daily Nation, Raila pulls a fast one on Mudavadi. ANC leaders, troops are traversing Kibra, drumming up support for ODM candidate, whereas the party has its own flag bearer in the race. Okay, that is quite interesting. So if you want to know the story, that is on page 8. And the Kibra by-election is supposed to be taking place on the 8th of November. So, this month. We are in November. Oh, my goodness. Yes, indeed. And it is 11 days to go to Sudan's a peace process, and 6 days to go to Kibra's by-election. All right, so we have a lot to look forward to in the next couple of days here in Kenya, in South Sudan, and in other places across Africa, and indeed across the world. And we look at the Standard newspaper, where Mau forest evictions, 41 members of parliament have threatened Uhuru. And he continues to say that CS Keriako Tobiko to launch a 10 million trees initiative in Sierra Leone area of Masai Mau today. That story is on page 6. And on the front pages there, also at on the Star newspaper, it says GSU officer confesses to killing woman and daughter. And still there it says Uhuru Park will not be touched, says PS Maringa. Remember, this an expressway that was supposed to be built. Now the government has revised the design of the 65 billion Kenya shillings JKIA James Gishuru Express Highway, so the project does not interfere with Uhuru Park. An official has said. Infrastructure PS Paul Maringa on Thursday told journalists that the historic park will not be touched. This is something that nearly costed our own Nobel Peace Prize, God rest her soul, her own life. She was fighting for the space, and that is the only park we have in the city. And it's not something that is quite common in a lot of countries across the world. So Nairobi, we're blessed. We have Uhuru Park, where it is a public park. You can go there, sit. You don't have to pay anything and just have a good time. Also, it helps in cleansing the air around the city. And so I don't know who sat down and thought it would be a very good idea for the expressway to pass over Uhuru Park. So Kenyans, in their numbers, trooped the social media and castigated this move. And so they have reconsidered, which I think is a very good thing. And in the memory and in the words of Wangari Maathai, I think you just stay clear of Uhuru Park and leave that to some of the Kenyans who can't afford to go to these fancy parks and pay for entrance or whatever. Just come on now, leave that historical site alone. So I'm happy the government has reconsidered and let them get another plan for that expressway. All right, so that is just, the front covers of, no, I have to read this on the Star. Just something there up there that just caught my eye. And it says hard time, unga prices to go up as inflation rises to 4.95%. So Kenyans should gear up for paying a lot of an added price on a daily commodity here that is used in majority of Kenyan households. Unga is a flour, maize flour, so it's one of the staple foods here we have in Kenya. So thank you so much. Like I said earlier, Dr. Matanga will be joining me in a bit. So I was just looking at the front pages of the local dailies here. 3 of them are the Standard newspaper, the Daily Nation, and the Star. So right now, I'd like for us to go straight to African news making headlines, and we'll also talk in depth about it and also look at some of the stories that we've been discussing. And then when Dr. Matanga comes in, we will look at other stories. He'll look at the legacy of Uhuru Kenyatta and I think the BBI, so he'll be coming to talk about that. So as we continue to wait, let's just do what we do here, and that is talking about Africa, news and other stories making headlines across the continent. And we start with the Democratic Republic of Congo, where the DRC's army says it has launched an offensive against militia groups that plague the east of the country. A military spokesperson, General Richard Kasonga, said rebel positions had been shelled and ground troops have been engaged. He said the aim was to eradicate all domestic and foreign groups that have stabilized the eastern region for nearly a quarter of a century. The operation was launched from Beni in North Kivu province, which borders Uganda and Rwanda. It is an area targeted by the Ugandan armed group, the Allied Democratic Forces, which has killed hundreds of people. Now, last week, 5 of the countries in the region, that is the DRC, Rwanda, Burundi, Uganda, and Tanzania, agreed to combine their military operations to target cross-border insecurity. And we move to Ghana, where more than 100 foreign-owned shops have been closed by Ghanaian traders in the second city, Kumasi. Irate Ghanaian traders believed to be members of the Ghana Union of Traders Association have forcibly locked up shops with padlocks. Local businesses owners say the foreign traders, mostly from Nigeria, again, are working illegally, but the Nigerian traders insist their businesses are legal. The government has urged Ghanaian traders to desist from their action as it could affect relations with Nigeria. This isn't the first time foreign-owned shops have been locked up. And we go to Algeria, where Algerians on social media are calling for large demonstrations today to protest against heavy restrictions imposed on a prominent opposition activist, Ahmed Ben Mohamed, after he had addressed a rally in the capital, Algiers. Mr. Ben Mohamed criticized the army's chief of staff, Lieutenant General Ahmed Said Salah, saying that he was the real president of Algeria. He was arrested on Tuesday after speaking at the rally and was released on Thursday under judicial supervision. His lawyer, Abdelghani Badi, said this bans him from taking part in protest and talking to the media or anyone involved in the protest. And we go to Ethiopia, where some 78 people were killed in the violence which hit parts of Ethiopia last week. Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, Press Secretary Bilen Seyum, has said the security forces have arrested more than 400 people in connection with the killings and the destruction of properties, she added. And we go to South Africa, where a court in South Africa has cleared a firebrand opposition politician Julius Malema of hate speech for calling Public Enterprises Minister Pravin Gordhan a dog of white monopoly capital. Equality Court Judge Roland Sutherland dismissed Mr. Gordhan's application and ordered him to pay the legal costs for Mr. Malema, the leader of the economic freedom fighters. Mr. Malema's comments were a juvenile rant and a puerile self-aggrandizement and not a threat to the applicant or anyone else. And that is what the judge said. And continuing to say that, the EFF Secretary General Godrich Gadi welcomed the judgment. Mr. Malema had targeted Mr. Gordhan, a former finance minister, believing he was behind his troubles with the authorities over tax irregularities. And we go to Guinea, where tens of thousands of Guineans rallied in support of President Alpha Conde on Thursday after 2 weeks of violent protests against the leader's suspected bid to prolong his rule claimed about 10 lives. Communications Minister Amara Sompare said 45,000 people turned out to greet Conde, who is 81 years old, on his return from a trip abroad, which the minister said proved that the president has a wide backing for his push for a new constitution. The pro-Conde rally was a response to a protest that saw hundreds of thousands take to the streets a week ago, according to the local journalists. Organizers put the turnout for the rally at around 1 million, while the government said the protests numbered 30,000. And on Thursday, people thronged the Conakry airport, lined the roads leading into town, wearing the yellow and white colors of the ruling party, their t-shirts with the words "Yes to the new constitution" and "Let's have a referendum." Look at that. Africa, Africa. Okay. We go to Malawi, and the political impasse in Malawi stemming from disputed May elections shows no sign of ending. President Peter Mutharika has offered to negotiate with the opposition, but opposition parties say the president is illegitimate and should step aside. Political tensions started rising in May when opposition leaders rejected election results that showed President Peter Mutharika winning a second term. Since then, a civil rights group, the Human Rights Defenders Coalition, has led protests pushing for resignation of Malawian Electoral Commission chairperson Jane Ansah, allegedly mismanaging the polls. Ansah has since been denying these allegations. And we go to Biafra, where the leaders of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB Nnamdi Kanu, has issued a threat to Miyetti Allah over the recent attacks on its members in Ebonyi. The IPOB leader added that some members were seriously injured and in critical condition following the incident, but speaking on Thursday night, Kanu threatened to avenge the lives of his members allegedly tortured and killed in Ebonyi State. He warned governors of Ebonyi State, Dave Umahi and Miyetti Allah, to be on alert, adding that they will account for every injury, torture and death of every Biafran. We go to Ambazonia, where the Tole Integrated Health Center in the Fako division of the southwest region of Cameroon has been partly set ablaze by unidentified armed individuals, reports have confirmed. According to reports, the incident occurred on Thursday afternoon, Wednesday, October 30th, 2019. Reports from the Tole say that the act was carried out by unidentified armed individuals dressed in civilian attire who first fired gunshots in the air before setting part of the medical center ablaze. And we go to South Sudan, where the South Sudan government has declared a state of emergency in 27 flood-affected areas. The presidency said that the state of emergency was to allow humanitarian organizations access people in the affected areas. French medical charity Médecins Sans Frontières estimated about 900,000 people have been affected by the heavy rains across the country since July. And still in Sudan, and as I said there, countdown continues, and today is 11 days to go, and let's see what's really happening in that area. And now South Sudan's main opposition has accused the government, they did that on Wednesday, of failing to push through a peace deal and called for a 6-month delay in the formation of a unity administration, casting a shadow over efforts to end years of fighting. The spokesperson for former rebel leader Riek Machar said he did not believe he would be able to join a unity government come November 12th. A deadline agreed in September after months of talks, a broken ceasefire and pressure from the United Nations and the United States and regional powers. Speaking later at a public event, President Salva Kiir did not directly address the comments from Machar's camp. He said all parties to the agreement had committed to forming the unity government on November 12th, and the international community expected that to happen. He called on the government to release funds it had agreed to spend on rolling out the accord, and the extra 6 months will give him room for resolving issues. That is what Machar said. And now the peace deal has stopped the fighting, but South Sudan's government says it cannot afford to fund disarmament and the integration of rebels into the army. So far, it has allocated $10 million of the pledged $100 million. This is according to the international body monitoring the ceasefire. interesting times there. And we end with Nigeria, where Nigerians Supreme Court on Wednesday dismissed an appeal filed by main opposition candidate Atiku Abubakar against the re-election earlier this year of President Muhammadu Buhari. The panel, headed by Chief Justice Mohammed Tanko, said it had examined all the briefs and exhibits submitted by the petitioners, but found that there was no merit in the appeal. The panel said the reasons for the dismissal will be given later. The Presidential Electoral Election Tribunal had dismissed a challenge to Buhari's victory, following which Atiku mounted an appeal at the Supreme Court. Atiku, a former vice president, led the People's Democratic Party PDP into the polls, but lost to Buhari, who secured a final term with the governing All Progressive Congress party. And that is the latest from this continent this morning. And all right, let's just talk about the news that I just finished with, and then we'll continue recapping the rest of the news that we just looked at as we wait for, I wanted to say President Matanga, for Dr. Matanga, sorry, who should be making his way here in a short bit. Now. So elections happened in Nigeria on, when was it? On the 28th of February. Initially, they were supposed to happen on the 14th, and then it did not happen because last minute, in the wee hours, the last minute and everything, all systems go down. The Electoral Commission of Nigeria came out and said, you know what, we are not prepared as things are right now. We cannot have these elections. That was in February, earlier this year, all right? So at the last minute, when even some voters in Nigeria were already waking up to go to the early to the polling stations, the Electoral Commission came out with the breaking news. The elections did not happen. So elections were pushed a week before that. And remember, 2 weeks before the elections even happened, the Chief Justice of the country, who was not considered to be, it is believed that was not considered to be playing within the books of President Muhammadu Buhari, was fired by President Buhari because apparently he had not, filed for, tax or something. He had something like that. But remember, this person had been the Chief Justice of Nigeria 2 years prior to that. So all of a sudden they realized, oh no, we have a problem with this new Chief Justice. But the reasons and what people who understand the stories behind this would say is because he was not willing to play ball. I think he was a legal mind that was going to stick to the book, and it was not very easy to manipulate him because I think President Buhari had already seen an election petition coming, all right? So you understand that background. So fast forward, the elections was postponed. A week later, the elections happened, and then a very few people turned compared to the registered, voters in Nigeria turned out to vote, which was an indictment to the government of Buhari or the leadership of that country, because what causes such a huge number of voter apathy? And we see that happening across the world and across of many other African countries where voters are like, oh, does it even matter? Even if I vote, my voice, which is through my ballot, does not seem to count. The elections are going to be rigged anyway. The Electoral Commission seems to be in the pocket of the government, as they normally are in most of the situations, apart from very few exceptions. But so there was a low turnout compared to the voters who have been registered in Nigeria. So now, after the elections happened, we waited for the results, and then finally, voila, President Buhari was announced to have won. Remember, he fired the Chief Justice of the country 2 weeks to the elections. And the Chief Justice that was elected, that he appointed, I say to having very close ties, is somebody who is favorable to President Buhari. And I don't know if he's coming from the same ethnical background. I don't know. But it is said that this is somebody that he needed to put a safer person there for himself. So now elections happened. It did not go well, and just weeks running to the elections, there are states where ballot materials were burnt down, places where they were being stored were burnt down. There were a lot of violence that a few parts of the country that was also witnessed. So it was just marked with a lot of chaos and skirmishes and allegations of voter bribery and allegations of corruption and allegations of vote stealing and things like that. You're not surprised if you come from Africa, because unless you're coming from South Africa. That is the only elections that happened that I didn't hear an aftermath of, but if you're coming from elsewhere in Africa, this is quite synonymous, which is unfortunate. But we've sort of used to it, and it appears to be our way of how we handle our elections, and we've been, even to some extent, we've become very complacent, we don't even demand for more. So anyway, now elections happened, and President Buhari won. And somebody here is saying, Ayo Ogundomis, thank you for writing. Ogundimu, you're saying we had no elections, only a fixed and selection. All right. So if you look at the background and how the Chief Justice was fired and all these things, and the election called off the last minute and then it was postponed, it's just very telling. So the people, voter apathy, people did not care to come out and vote, because the people, even in Kenya here, the people who have registered in the villages, so when during election, they'll take a leave of absence from work for a week or two, so travel to the village while they're going there to see their folks, also vote, and after the results have been announced, they will come back and things like that. So after the first time the voting was cancelled, people who had traveled across Nigeria to go vote to where they've been registered, they could not do that the second time. So I don't know. Anyway, so this was in February. So Mr. Atiku Abubakar, who was the main opposition figure, now went to the court to challenge the presidential results. And I think please remind me, I can't remember exactly. Was it in April or May when President Muhammadu Buhari got inaugurated, took the oath of office for his second term? So he just went to the stadium. He did not say any ad-libs. He did not add anything else. He just took his oath of as a president, and he left. And the president of Nigeria did not even show up to his own inauguration ball. You remember he missed out the dinner that night. So it was quite telling. Everything was just very weird in the manner. It was in May. Thank you so much, Ayo. Thank you so much. See, that's why I need you to stay there and keep watching. All right, and keep telling me what is happening there in Nigeria. So anyway, so now he was a no-show for his own inaugural dinner. Who even does that? Seriously, for his second term. Okay, so elections happened in February. There was a case in court challenging the re-election of President Buhari, but still, he was still sworn in office, because we had a problem and a situation here in 2007 after we went through with our elections. Remember, the opposition leader led by former Prime Minister Raila Odinga went to the Supreme Court and challenged the presidential results, and the entire elections was cancelled, and we had to have only the other elections, like the parliamentary elections, the county elections for the governor, senators, those ones were not affected, but only the presidential elections, because that is the part that the opposition went to petition in court. So nothing could have been done. No inauguration for President Uhuru Kenyatta for his second term could have taken place until that case was heard and determined, and then the court gave out the dates and the times where the new elections could have been, scheduled or done according to the Kenyan Constitution. So we had a rerun or a runoff or another fresh elections. Actually, it was fresh elections, not even a runoff. It was fresh elections for the presidential part. In October, after we had our elections in August. All right. Do you understand? Or it's just too much. So now I was just trying to explain, because we had a similar situation where the presidential results were being contested. So in Nigeria, the presidential results were contested. But what is quite interesting, comparing to the Kenyan scenario, is President Muhammadu Buhari was sworn in for his second term, while there was still a case in court, in the Nigerian Supreme Court there, challenging his re-election for a second term. So how does the country, or how does the legal system in Nigeria operate? That I don't even understand. Because if a case is in court challenging a re-election of a president, or a re-election of, especially a president, how do you allow it to go? So what if let's just have what if the other scenario? What if it has turned out that the court has found, which could not have been possible because remember, he changed the Chief Justice and he put another one that was favorable to him. So, the end results were really expected. So, but what if the results, maybe the judge would have ruled, or the judges there would have ruled, but you know what? This election was marred with high levels of irregularities and the things that happened that really warrant for us to cancel this whole exercise and for the country to go for another election. So what would have happened, owing that President Buhari had already taken in his oath of office for his second term? What would have happened? Would that have, created a situation where there will be a constitutional crisis, or what would have happened? People from Nigeria, please talk to me. So that is the part I don't understand, where a president is sworn in to serve for his another term while there's still a case in court to challenge his win. In normal democracy, or in normal, like even here in Kenya, and you know what, we have our own struggles, like no mistake, we have our own struggles and we have our own challenges in our judicial system, we have our own challenges in the manner in which the laws are implemented in this country. But President Uhuru Kenyatta, there is no way he was going to take his oath of office for the second term without making sure that the case in the courts was decided. Kenyans would not even that would not have happened in this country. So for the fact that this happens in Nigeria, maybe the constitution in Nigeria is different from what we have here or in other jurisdictions across the world. I don't know. You talk to me and let me know. Perhaps there are things that you know that I don't. All right. Mark John, you're saying never again. In Ambazonia, I just read a news here in the morning. We are part of a hospital there. Is it in Tola? In Ambazonia was burnt down. And identities of the people who did it has not been made, is not known. So, okay. Biar Garang is saying, Miriam, African countries' problems of leaders will not help citizens for sure. That is for sure. And yes, we'll talk, I must talk about South Sudan. So we'll do that. 11 days to go. So just hold on there and wait. And Cosmos Ngwomba, you're saying, good morning, my people. Good morning to you. Simon Yuerdang is saying, did I miss the news? Yes, you did. But you know what? We'll do another wrap up. So I'm just going through what I just read in the news items. And the last item of the news was Nigeria. And Nigeria Supreme Court on Wednesday dismissed an appeal filed by the main opposition candidates Atiku Abubakar against the re-election earlier this year of President Muhammadu Buhari. And what I was trying to explain is how I don't understand how the jurisdiction in Nigeria works, because I don't know how a president is sworn in for the next term, of whether it's first or second or whatever. Well, there is a case in court challenging his win. I don't know how that works, because down here that will not cut it, but it appears perhaps Nigeria has a different set of rules compared to the rest of the world. I don't understand how that works. So now the case on Wednesday was dismissed. That was expected, on the grounds that the Chief Justice, Mr. Mohammed Tanko, this is the person who replaced the other Chief Justice, and this Chief Justice they're having right now in the country could not even produce his academic papers because he said they were eaten by termites. Like, are you serious? So when he was being like Africa. So the Chief Justice right now, Mr. Mohammed Tanko of Nigeria, did not even present his academic credentials because they were all eaten by termites. But the one that was there, that was actually qualified and seemed to have been doing a very great job, was dismissed. That just 2 weeks before the elections there happened in February this year. So that is Nigeria for you. It's ridiculous. The things. Do you remember also earlier this year we ran a story about a zoo somewhere there in Nigeria. I don't know which part. Sorry if you're Nigeria. I mean, we have to talk about these things, right? And then this money that was collected from the entrance fee at the gate, they came out and said it was eaten by what? A snake Actually, it made news. It was eaten by a snake. And then, I don't know, there's something else that was also eaten by a gorilla. I don't understand. So now, and then later on, they came out, and I think after authorities became very hard on these keepers there, they came out and said, the money, it appears some armed men came here and robbed us clean. So it's interesting stories there coming from Nigeria. Yes, our brothers from over there. But hey, thank you for watching us, and all the Biafrans who are watching this morning. Osi in Dimbuisi, you're saying Nigerian is a zoological public. And Sydney and Elechi, you're saying Nigeria is a British government experiment. That is experiment. I don't know how it's working, but it seems to be, I don't know how you would rate that experiment. It's ridiculous. Our judiciary is totally compromised, I know, and I know this is a challenge that a lot of African countries do have about the separation of powers, the executive, the judiciary, the parliament. Sometimes it's very difficult. The line is normally very thin. You don't even know where the mandate of the executive ends and where it starts. It's written on the law. It's very clear, but just on paper. But in real implementation and in real situations, normally it's not the case, because a lot of times the executive tends to overstep its mandate and interfere with judiciary and interfere with parliament and other institutions in a country, which I think is not quite okay. All right. Sondudi Ume, you're saying Atiku Abubakar is not an opposition. He is a Fulani brother to Buhari. All is in agreement to deceive people as if they are in election. That we see an election in Nigeria is fraud, and a military coup and dictatorship continues. A democracy does not exist in Nigerian politics. All right, Ndundi, thank you so much for that. So Atiku is a Fulani brother to President Muhammadu there, Buhari. Okay, thank you then. Thank you so much, and keep writing to us. So now, let's switch gears, and before we look at other stories. Well, South Sudan, and I think we mentioned this in passing in our evening show yesterday, and I'll come back and talk about something here that, that Nnamdi Kanu said yesterday, a statement he issued after the death of some Biafra members in Ebonyi. Does any of you out there understand what Mr. Nnamdi Kanu is talking about? Please enlighten us and let me know what was really happening in Ebonyi State. Apparently, some members of Biafra were killed, were attacked, were tortured, were injured. And, Mr. Nnamdi Kanu came out and said, you know what? You will pay for every one of those. You keep hurting Biafrans, some point in time you'll have to pay for all this. So let me know if you understand what we're talking about. Prayers, morning, my favorite team. Morning to you, and prayers, amen, if that is your name that you use here. Thank you so much. We've not seen you here for a while, but thank you. You're saying Donald Trump sanctioned King Paul Biya of Cameroon. When did that happen? Because the last time, I think earlier this year, after the what we saw and the attack in the hospital in the Anglophone region, I think the US, what happened is they withdrew their help in terms of the military help that they offer the military of Paul Biya's government of Cameroon. So have there been any sanctions outside of that? Are there new development between, Cameroon and United States? Let me know. Trump has his own problems right now. The first vote to allow the impeachment process took place yesterday and sailed through. Of course, the difference of the voting was a few, but yes. So Mr. Trump, right now, I've not checked out his tweets, but I'm sure it has been on an overdrive right now. So he has enough to deal with. I don't even know if Cameroon crosses, his mind. But what happened? Are these new developments, or what is really happening? Or you've been very busy? All right, thank you, and welcome back. Thank you for nice to see you here. Sydney and Elechi saying Nigeria is a zoo. All we need is Biafra, and no power can stop the spirit of Biafra. So as we do that, this incident that happened in Ebonyi, is it Ebonyi or where? Yes, and we will talk about it. In Ebonyi State that Mr. Nnamdi Kanu is talking about. Do you know about it, and what really happened? What are the events that led to a lot of Biafrans getting injured and being maimed and being killed there? Let me know. It appears it's something that has happened very recently. I've not been able to, to get a hold of that information. So let me know. Share the information with me so that we can talk about it and share with the rest of the world. And we look at South Sudan now, and today is the 1st of November. That means we have 11 days to go. And South Sudan's main opposition has accused the government, they did that on Wednesday, of failing to push through a peace deal and called for a 6-month delay in the formation of a unity administration, casting a shadow over efforts to end years of fighting. If you are from South Sudan, or if you have been following this story about South Sudan, please, personally, as much as I understand where Mr. Riek Machar is coming from with this demand, but additional time is not what South Sudanese need. Holding a whole country ransom is not something that South Sudanese need. Failing to come to the table as was agreed and taking headlining positions is not what South Sudanese need. And I don't even care what these leaders even want. But can we even consider South Sudan people for 1 second? That appears to not appearing in the list of what is important when it comes to the agenda setting of this peace meeting, peace deals, revitalized what, handshake, peace agreement, call it whatever, that is supposed to be bringing South Sudan together and for the unity government to be formed. There was a handshake last year and a peace agreement last year that saw President Kiir and Riek Machar come together and signed and agree, and they required 6 months to do it. And then in that first agreement, other stakeholders and other key players were left out. Somebody like Thomas Cirillo refused to sign to that, and other people. All right. So somehow it was set to not really take off as was required because they left out a lot of other things that forms the base and the root of what is really ailing South Sudan today. So nobody cared to really look at the root cause and how they were going to, problem solve from the root, from the basis, from the cause, from the main cause of this. Because it's not about power sharing. And unfortunately, and very sadly, this is what it has turned out to be. This is what I want. This is what I need. The other side, this is what I want. This is what I need. But what does South Sudanese people want? What does Sudan as a country need? Can we talk about that? And just put other things aside. So now, fast forward to May, that was supposed to be the deadline after last year's revitalized peace deal. And nothing was on the offing. And I remember in April when these two leaders went to, after it was very imminent that they could not meet the deadline in May, and so they traveled for what was called, a spiritual retreat at the Vatican, where the Pope kissed their feet. It was a public glare, and you would think they would even get ashamed even after that and really try to act right for the sake of the people of South Sudan. And now we're back here, running circles again. And nothing much has moved since then. And I can understand, or I try to understand, the argument from the both sides, President Salva Kiir's camp and the opposition, Mr. Riek Machar's camp, and his, concern for his security, and of course the matters of borders, which have not been. That cannot be discussed until Machar, returns to South Sudan and Juba and just sit down. Sometimes there's power of just sitting down and having a one-on-one conversation and not sending people on your behalf and not, there's power in that, and have this conversation. But that cannot be heard. The conversation cannot happen unless Dr. Machar returns to Juba. So here we are today, 11 days to go, and there's nothing to show for it. And now we're here, Dr. Machar is asking for extension of time, another 6 months for what? Anyway, you keep writing to us and talking to us, and I will continue having these conversations. But right now, I'd like to take a very short break, and then later on, I'll be joined by Dr. David Matanga. So please don't go too far. Good morning, Africa. We'll be right back.
Zimbabwe's economy is cursed because we have a bad leadership running the treasury of the people of Zimbabwe. President Emmerson Mnangagwa should have picked a person who understands the political, social, economic apparatus of what the economy of Zimbabwe needs. President Emmerson Mnangagwa would have been able to walk out of this quagmire of the economy by picking a leader, a person who is able to manage the economy. The current Minister of Finance is a parrot of George Soros, Brentwood's institutions. He cannot run the economy. A person who always talks of hiked prices, hiked percentage, hiked fuel, cannot help you in a struggle where regime change is near the doorsteps. President Emmerson Mnangagwa, dear brother, time has come to change the direction. The Zimbabwe economy is the Waterloo of the government of Zimbabwe. It is important, therefore, for us to do what we call fatigue evaluation. Is there a need for fatigue evaluation? Is the system moving forward? Is there an investment that is coming as it was, as people were willing to come with investment? It is very shocking at this age that America is piling pressure and sanctions on Zimbabwe, that the same American people, through a proxy, send one to be the chairman of Zimbabwe Reserve Bank, or the Central Bank of Zimbabwe. I want to ask, what is this that we Africans get confused when it comes to the direction of our own policies? Here is a country that has hammered sanctions, and here we are. We have got their own native coming to manage our and micromanage our finances to find out why we went wrong. But then he's not going to tell America to remove sanctions before he manages the same place. Are we cursed? I believe the people of Zimbabwe, I believe the president will look at this and review the appointment of Mr. Mark Holzman. Mr. Mark Holzman can be very good in Rwanda, but he cannot be very good in Zimbabwe. He will bring you the mobs and the millions of people on the streets of Harare if you allow him to run your economy or your finances. Thank you.
Welcome welcome back. This is Good Morning Africa show, and on the first hour of the show, we've just been looking at what's making headlines. We started with the headlines of the three leading newspapers here in Kenya, and we looked at what is really making headlines today in this country, and also we went through the news stories across Africa and the African news headlines here across the continent, and we tried to look at Nigeria after the Supreme Court, on Wednesday dismissed an appeal filed by main opposition candidate, Doctor. And now I'm joined by Dr. David Matanga, my co-host. He'd had other businesses to deal with earlier on, but now, he's joined me, and we will continue with the show starting here. Dr. Karibu.
Asante. Thank you.
I almost got too excited. I forgot you were not here earlier.
Yes, that's what you...
Yes.
What happens when you start?
Yes, now there's something, I know we will talk about what's our topic of the day, but before we get at that, so the Supreme Court in Nigeria on Wednesday is when it dismissed the appeal filed by the main opposition leader, Atiku Abubakar. So what was the point, really, when the president had already been sworn in without even following the due process of the law? And yesterday you were talking about the courts here in Kenya, but the courts in Nigeria seems to be in more chaos than here, because normally when there's a petition that is challenging an election, you can't be sworn in. See, that has to be sorted out, like it happened here in Kenya in 2017.
Usually countries in the Commonwealth have the same systems of courts, but the Nigerian system of court looks like more of a Sharia court than the normal Commonwealth systems. And therefore, it is very, very important that people understand the extent of how courts in Africa have degraded the terms of democracy, the voices of the people, the hopes of the people. They have all gone down ashes. You see, if you look at what is happening right now in many countries in Africa, every president is trying to extend his term limits. The term limits on age, the term limits on terms of governance, tenure of office. Everybody is trying to run towards covering himself up. It means we have been doing something very wrong for a long time. So Nigeria is not an exception. Nigeria is actually one of the biggest monsters on this African continent that breeds as the chaos. If Nigeria was stable, the entire West Africa would be stable. There would be no problem in Conakry. There would be no problem in Guinea-Bissau. There would be no problem in Cameroon. There would be no problem in Burkina Faso. There would be no problem in Cote d'Ivoire. But they look at the big brother in ECOWAS, who is always in turmoil. Corruption is rampant. They produce oil, no oil at the petrol station. Infrastructure zero. The money is banked out by few cronies of presidents who come to power. They use all the local people in Nigeria have been reduced to spectators of their economy, of what happens, and that is the problem of Africa.
The problem of Africa. And something else here, I had not looked in detail, but I read it through when I was going through the news making headlines. More than 100 foreign-owned shops have been closed down by Ghanaian traders in the second city of Kumasi. This is not the first time that Ghanaians are closing shops, especially in this regard, Nigerian shops that are being operated legally there in Nigeria. It happened sometimes back in June, and now they're closing. And with this thing that the ECOWAS wants to form, of course, they said they'll form one currency come next year, and this free continental trade. Well, we see things like this. Well, is this encouraging for us to have a free border trade within countries?
You cannot have a free trade when you still have a visa to go to some African countries. African heads of state must be very serious and very factual. I think facts need to be laid, and you dispute the facts. The fact is that if you want to go to one of the African countries, you need to carry documents of your father's birth certificate. So how can you do free trade? If you want to go to South Africa, you are from Uganda, you have to queue and carry, instead of getting your passport, going to the airport in Entebbe, landing in Johannesburg, they stamp you and you go in, do your business, improve the economy, run back to Uganda and do other business. That, until that is done, they forget about these things that you are talking about. It is not going to happen. It's just lip service. They killed the man who had the money, who could pump in. If AU was going down, Gaddafi paid money. Who of these leaders, apart from Uhuru Kenyatta and Mugabe, who were able to pay? Even Uganda doesn't pay a single penny. You know, they eat all the money. There is no money. No, Uganda cannot sponsor 1 unit of AU. You know, Mugabe paid $1 million. It's a poor country. Uhuru Kenyatta paid $1 million for setting up of an African Court of Justice. All the countries take time. Then you find the bigger countries like South Africa, zero. They are paying nothing there. They are in arrears with AU. If a bigger country is in arrears with AU, then how are you going to have AU talking in one voice? That's why AU has been captured by stupid France, which goes on capturing countries and creating chaos in this Africa. For me, I'm fed up. I'm fed up as an African. I'm really embarrassed that to see an AU begging for money, when you see money in Africa being used to build mansions, to build houses, apartments. Everybody you find in Kenya is telling you apartment, apartment, apartment. Did God do what? Everybody, woman, man, the apartment. Have you built an apartment? I want to buy an apartment. Then they go and steal. You know, they go and steal the money from the coffers. Then they come and throw apartments around here. You sleep in apartments whose money has been stolen. That's why we don't have enough good sleep. Yes, Africa, we must talk the truth. Nigeria produces oil, and when you find no petrol station with a long queue, as if Noah's Ark has arrived and you have to run, the water is coming. This is the type of Africa that makes anybody, you know, if you go to those areas of Europe, go forever, sit there. And if God calls you one day, you go. That is the Africa that is annoying me. You see? Everywhere you go, there is a conflict brewing. Zimbabwe, there is a conflict brewing. Everywhere. There's no country where you sit. Here in Kenya, look at the headline. Uhuru, Ruto, fight over control of parliament. A cross-section of Kenyan MPs are trying to use Mao as a fight back, as a hit back at Uhuru Kenyatta. No? So we are here, even here, we are coming to a gridlock. With those who have stolen money, hiding. You know, these are two factions. The thieving faction and the ruling faction. There are those who thieved through tenders, heaped tenders, got money, stole it in the last 5 years while the president was not seeing. You know, now they have come back to fight him using the same money they have stolen. That's the headline here. Tell me what Africa is. That parliament now. Tell me what Uhuru can pass in that parliament. If the mafia have captured the parliament.
Even the judiciary.
Have you heard my words?
Even the laws that we need to pass there will not be passed.
Yes, even the mafia have captured. In Kenya, the mafia have captured the parliament. The mafia have captured the judiciary. The mafia have captured the youth. Every youth. Someone has poisoned everything. Even from the backyard of the president. So time for pretense is over for me. Why do you pretend? I go out there to struggle to make sure that Somalia does not steal your sea. Internally here you are bickering. Internally you are calling people to destroy Mao and then water will not flow in Lake Victoria, which will serve Egypt. Egypt and Ethiopia are about to fight on the Rito, which is coming. So if you starve them on this side, the war will begin from there.
It even forced Russia to come in and try to mediate. Can you imagine?
You see, so this is a continent that is, it doesn't see the left. There is no way. Why can't you as an MP from the Rift Valley or from where listen and reason? Why did God create a forest and an escarpment, a Mao tower? Why? Why didn't he leave it open? Why? He had a purpose. But we are coming to destroy the purpose. We don't care of the consequences. Do we do these things for the future generation? Why is a nation there? Why is Kenya called Kenya today? Why is Uhuru Kenyatta wanting to keep a legacy? It's because he wants the future generation to be all right. That's why they want you to preserve the Mao Tower waters. Sleeping there tonight, but tomorrow, 20 years ago, you might be in a desert. You might have gone to your Mecca. If you are lucky, you enter through heaven. If you are not lucky, the fire burns you until the end. But the people who remain here on the planet Earth need to use the towers. Handle them humanely. We're not saying kill people. The things that you see, look, we forget so easily. The ICC in 2008, 2009 came here to, you see the things that catch us. Have you seen now? And this woman is watching. She's leaving. And you see the problem with some section of the people in Kenya. When you tell them, they say, Karim will sort it out. Karim! Walai, Karim, you watch. You watch. You have undergraded me, but watch. I'm not there anymore. By the time you look for me, I will not be there. I'm telling you, these things which people are doing right now, the things that people are doing right now are going to reflect very shortly. You are mobilizing a tribe to stand against other tribes. You are showing the traits of what we refused in the ICC. Have you seen? The woman has a case pending and the case is standing there. I feel so tired and I feel so hurt not even to talk about this. This is the 1st of November. Let's end these programs today. Let them talk. Nani atakuja kuwachukua. I swear, I don't want to do this thing again because I'm fed up, Miriam. Every day I talk about this thing. I had 250 trips on a flight, on a plane, sleeping odd times on coffee to defend these guys. Now today they are saying the same thing. They are doing the same thing today. Look at what they are doing. That we are Rift Valley MPs. Rubbish. Nobody is standing up to say these things. And these things are going to take us that route again. I'm telling you. This woman has got an open door here. She'll just fill in the questions like KCP. Fill in the questions. Stop it. You are leaders. Stop your people from doing these things. We cannot keep on quiet and put the head down that things are moving well. This headline to come up to this level. Why is the headline coming to this level? Why is the headline coming to this level? Why some of us have lost everything. I don't have a bank, I don't have a hotel, I don't have anything. Because I was doing this for these guys. I saw Campo going to kill them. It's not the lawyers. It's the noise and advocacy and activism. Forget about the law. Tell me one lawyer who insulted Ocampo. Tell me. Where, which forum? It was me who did it. Then now today they again, we are the Rift Valley MPs, we have said this. What the hell? What are you doing again? You are giving this woman ammunition. You are giving, this woman is going to leave somebody in that court. Jermaine, you people be careful. These things of wearing new shirts and suits and running around this country, you are going to have problems. Mutaona. Me, I'm telling you, I'm 64, I've seen a lot. I went to London when you had not reached London. Hey! Yeah. What is it that they want? They want what? Kutisha what? You see, they are going to be fixed. This thing is fixing people, I tell you. Miriam, you wait. I've done my best. If there's a Kenyan who wants to stone me, can stone me. I can broadcast from anywhere in the world, not even from here. But I will speak the same. In fact, even there, I could be more lethal. Stomached people for a long time. This thing here is bad. You cannot be dividing yourselves, washing the judiciary. You have gone there and have screwed it. Machiavellian politics. At night, President Uhuru is very bad. During the daytime, President Uhuru is very good. Things in South Sudan started the way. And Riak, I used to meet Riak. Then he said he's not comfortable with the constitution. Riak, you are listening. Didn't you tell me in the hotel? You see, before this thing started, I told Riak White and you resolve it through the SPLM. And what happened? What happened? Riak and Salva Kiir, guns fell out. He's my friend, is listening. He knows I don't tell a lie. If I tell a lie, then you are yourself to blame. I used to tell them that cool down, Riak. If General Salva Kiir is against you, why can't you sit down, you and Salva? You used to tell me that sit down with Museveni. Riak used to force me. He forced me even to hand to Museveni. Me, David. I did not want. I did not want. I had given up life. What can they do? I had given up life. Because I've lost enough. Had lost enough. Including my parents, my family, my wife. I've lost enough. So what could you do? What? But Riak forced me. We brought peace in northern Uganda. Today, peace is in northern Uganda. If there is a problem, solve it. The deputy president should sit down with the president of Kenya and sort down this. I am an activist, independent. If they say I'm talking because I'm in their country, I can go. Yes. But it will not stop a division coming. It will not stop Fatou Bensouda, I swear, leaving somebody hanging there. Well, you don't know international conspiracy. You don't know. Stop it. If there are no elders in this country who are telling these people the truth, I have said it. Time has come for this tomb to sit down. We finish it. If they don't want to listen, why? Surely, Mao is a tower for everybody's livelihood in the region, in the Great Lakes region and the Greater North Africa. If the water does not flow in Lake Victoria, if the levels are not good in Lake Victoria, there will be no water in Owens Falls Dam. There will be no water in Aswan Dam. Egyptians will die like a mouse. They will die. Is that not something that we should not protect? We should protect.
Should protect.
So what is wrong? Are these people being killed? No. Have they been given an ultimatum to leave? Yes. The deadline approaches, more babs, more collection, more tribal sentiments. The other time, the senator of Kericho, the statements that he said, he thinks the international community is not watching. It's a digital world. It's a very bad digital world. For two Besuda watches everything Matanga says every day here. She has put APS to watch. She wants to record. And later on use it that on that day you said this. What will you say? Or you said the video was doctored. We are doing something which is very silly. We are bringing a violent type of politics. We are doing Machiavellian politics. And I told you people here that this is Machiavellian politics. If it goes on the way it is going, Miriam, it is going to spark into chaos. And that chaos can bring more hatred in Kenya than any other place in East Africa. Thank you.
Yes, indeed, Doctor. And the matter about Mao is very sensitive. And I don't know why they've taken it. It has become now political. And this is not something that has started now with President Uhuru Kenyatta. Remember, former Prime Minister, I think, also was very vocal about it. And that formed the basis of the falling out between him and Ruto. And because Mao is important, it is a very important feature, natural feature in this country, the forest, the Mao forest, and it's our water catchment area, not just in Kenya, but across borders, Dr. Matsanga has been explaining. So I wish they would just take the politics out of it and let the environmentalists, let everybody else come and just look at what are the alternatives, and maybe the government working with the leadership there, what are some of the alternatives and some other measures are taken in place to make sure that the people who have been affected, who are being evicted from that area, who were sold these lands illegally, and now the government is saying, look, this place was not even up for sale, so the fact that you bought it, how can we even compensate you? So we need to see people coming in, we need to see well-wishers coming in, all these politicians with very deep pockets. Can you even pay for resettlement of some of these people since you care so much? And we do care, but the turn in which this Mao issue has taken and the political way that he has taken, I think it's really might plunge this country further into chaos, and this might not be very helpful, especially for the people who have been affected, for the children who will not, who schooling were affected, and for the people who are really bore the brunt of this, relocation. So this is something that politics should be out of it and should not be used as a political, tagline, because these are lives at stake. So can they work and see that these people find other places to be relocated and to start their lives afresh? And let's just take politics out of Mao. We all have agreed, we all have seen that if you keep messing up with these very important features, there was a near water shortage here in Nairobi when the rains were not there because Mao has been messed up. So these things is not just politics. This is something that all our livelihoods depends on, and we need it to be protected. So can we just take the politics out of it and find ways and means in which you can actually talk about this matter, and solutions can be found, especially for the families that are affected, and see what are the alternatives? Can the local leadership who are now out there making the most noise, what else can they do to make sure help in and come in, and what other help do they need to make sure that the people who are affected, as the leaders there, really gets relocated and they're able to go on with their lives as they used to. So it's just the manner in which politics has been involved in this matter, and they're using it as a political, bargaining chip right now. I don't think it's the right way to do it. We all know that Mao should be protected. I don't even understand why this is even a debate that we have to debate whether or not people are supposed to move out. So it's interesting times here.
Thank you very much. Interesting times in Kenya, and thank you very much. I am talking specifically for people to talk in all countries. In Uganda, I admit there is a deficit of democracy, but there is peace. There are no Ugandans pointing at each other that you are a Kalenjin or you are a Kikuyu. If you do that in Kampala, you are arrested. Mr. Ken Odanga, who has been actually called as a stone thrower. Yes, I don't think it is very good for you called as a stone thrower, yet you don't throw stones. So in Uganda, there is nobody. And Ken Odanga, listen very carefully, that Bob Wine is a Ugandan. And the boy will be told what to do. Because you can't lead Ugandan by playing music. You can give them music, incite the younger generation. But Uganda at the moment needs mature, well-organized leadership that can bring and continue with the legacy of Museveni. The Museveni legacy is very mature. 34 years is a kingdom worth of Oyo and Oyo Empire and the Benin Empire. Yes, those kingdoms lasted 30, 50 years. You cannot just dismantle it. You must be careful when you are discussing the politics of our nation. If you are coming in with the values that you want to remove everything that President Museveni has put there, people will fight you back and there won't be peace. That's why some of us are not getting engaged in the unleveled ground of discussion. But we can't kill all the countries. If Uganda is not working, again you want Kenya not to work, then where shall we go? Where? Hell? Heaven? Where?
Yes.
So that is why this topic is very important. When you see headline, I did not want to come to your show today because you know why? These are the headlines that were there in 2007. I'm telling you.
And even Mao was part of it.
Yes.
Now you see they're threatening unspecified action against what?
Against the president.
Why has it?
Their own president. So these are some of the topics that made some of us. Me, I was not even going to come today. When I read such topics, I feel so disheartened. I don't know. That you feel that all the suffering you have gone through will come to an end. When the ICC cases ended, I felt that everything will come to a very good close. And I will be the most happiest person walking around the planet Africa. But when you see some signs of this nature, you start to get worried. And that's why I've talked like that this morning.
And I think it's very important for our leaders, especially the elected leaders, the politicians particularly, who sometimes can be very, careless. Not just these politicians who are speaking about the Mao forest, but you've seen politicians across the country. Sometimes they do not understand the magnitude of their words when they're standing out in these public places and making these pronouncements. And when it's reckless and when it's disingenuous, like the way this is, it does not help. It does not serve the bigger picture that is Kenya. And this you're showing disunity even among the communities, because now the communities there will be feeling, you know what, because we're not in the same even community with the president, that is why we're being meted, because that is what ethnicity is the biggest issue. And when you see these members of parliament coming out and the MPs from that region saying they're threatening, in what context? Because we've seen what has been happening in the Rift Valley since 1992. So when you utter such words, please be careful, be very, very careful, because there are people who might not really understand what you're saying and might take those words very literally, and you can't even tell what they'll use that to do, so our leaders must understand, these elected leaders, these politicians must understand that the words carry some weight. So when they're sitting out there talking and they're addressing public places, and this information will go out in public, they must care what they're saying. They must think before they engage, so that we don't want this country to burn down. It starts like this, Doctor, as you have said, and we don't want to worry about, I can't drive through a certain place because going to where I want to go, because there's some tension or some things are happening there that might endanger my life. So we don't want to get to those levels. So please, members of parliaments out there, elected leaders, governors. I see there were 2 governors who were part of that. We beseech you to be careful with what you say there in public. It carries some weight, and some people take it actually very literal.
If I may ask, what is the biggest worry? Mm-hmm. The biggest worry here is what?
For who?
For everybody in Kenya. What is your biggest worry?
Why did we even find a need to the president and Raila Odinga to get a BBI? We all want to feel safe in this country.
Yes. And then when they, even before the BBI,
through to CI without worrying about
exactly
my safety.
Yes.
As I crisscross.
And that is what the president has done. But people, even before they read, they pay money quietly at night. There is a woman in Mount Kenya whom I'm going to expose, who carries this money, who is the paymaster, carries this money, pays people.
She's the Judas.
Yes, no, pays.
Judas was the treasurer, was the paymaster.
And distributes money action. Before the BBI itself comes, MPs have come up to say, we don't want. Poisoned mind. They have poisoned people against their own president. You can't write the word Uhuru on Facebook. You have people coming. Those who have washed their faces, those who have not washed, those who are what? They are all there. They insult you. They want you to write Ruto. When you write Ruto, you are a good friend. I'm telling you, this is happening on Facebook. You can see the messages that the people were writing against the president on his birthday.
I didn't take a look.
I always take a look. I'm on it.
Yes.
Very bad messages. What for? And these things are going on as if the person is doing as if he knows, and do this. Where is the story of assassination? Where did it end?
The letter.
Where is it? Bring it on. Nobody has gone to the police to make an up that I was going to be assassinated. You see, these are the things that are worrying. And these signs, I'm telling you, brothers, they are watching. These Americans that you go on talking to every day, these ones, whoa! If you don't know them, these ambassadors you meet every day, wagwan. When they turn on this, they don't care about you. They will fix you. They know what they are going to do in this country. Besuda is leaving next year. You can see the meetings juggling. Qatar, where Chief Justice in Qatar, Besuda in Qatar. You be careful. Hey, my friend. Me, I did my best. This type of language is worrying. That's all I can say.
And it's very reckless.
It's reckless language. It's worrying everybody. It is driving away the investors. It's threatening the investors. If you go across Tanzania, Arusha, which had no good buildings, look at what is happening around that area of Arusha, Moshi, Kilimanjaro. You see the type of high-rise apartments. It's because of its proximity with Kenya. The Kenyan investors, the Wahindi who are here, they have gone across there to invest very close so that his leg is here, another leg is there, to run quickly. The Arusha, Moshi, that area after you drive from Namanga, look at just take a look in a bus and come back. You'll see the type of development that is taking place in Tanzania as a result of this type of statements that are making people get scared of getting $2 billion to put it in an economy, which is a very good economy with a lot of good infrastructure in this country, Market is very equitable. Market is very good to buy. The capacity, the money is very strong. People are running to Tanzania. Investors are in Tanzania today.
And should this rhetoric continue, then we will scare off more investors.
More investors. At the same time, if you look at Somalia side, it's already hitting us from the bottom. The Somalis are bent. Faramijo. You see the PS of Foreign Affairs lamenting, crying over TV. You saw what he was on JKRA, Jeff Koinange Live, crying. Yet he has a ministry which you should have mobilized to make sure that this relationship does not go out of hand. Now you are lamenting over TV that Faramijo is very bad. What have you been doing there? You should have been the one to tell the people of Kenya that I have already tackled and silenced Mr. Faramijo.
All right. Good luck. As in Woke there, you're saying those who live in glass house don't throw stones, but that is not with the African rulers who breed nepotism, corruption, and continue to leave Africans impoverished while they live in affluence. Africa need leaders, not rulers anymore. Leaders that will liberate Africa from mental and self-inflicted slavery. Dr. Matsanga continue this message. One day Africa will be liberated. And he ends there saying, free Biafra. So there it is. So, I mean, like we were saying, our political leaders, sometimes they don't understand the level of influence they have and the weight their words or anything they utter in public carries and can build or really, cause a lot of chaos. Yes.
So thank you very much. That's it. And when you look at everywhere in Africa, not only Kenya, go across. I want to thank the government of the United States, led by Mr. Trump. However bad he is, he has decided that he's cutting off preferential trade with Cameroon.
Yes, one of our viewers was
thank you very much, Trump. However madness of what degree you can use.
And with all
use it.
With all that stress he's going through, he still have time to.
Yes.
That's good.
He cares because he listens to people's views worldwide. Yes. America is cutting off all preferential trade agreements with Cameroon. So Mr. Paul Biya can trade with his wife. Paul Biya trade with the wife. Why can't you form your own trading company in your bedroom? You have killed too many Ambazonians every day. Every day. There are children in Ambazonia who have never gone to school for 3 years, coming to 4 years now. They are running in the bushes in Ambazonia. I went to Europe a few weeks ago, and I tell you, I was going for a meeting, and when I sat down like this, the person who was supposed to meet me looked at me like this. Then he said, "Oh, I know you. I'm telling you, I know you. You defend Ambazonians. I am very happy." The man started crying tears. "Are you not the one on TV defending Ambazonians?" I said, "I am the one." He said, "This meeting is closed." I don't want to tell you more. He says, "It's closed. Whatever we came to do, you have won it." Because of the stand I've taken to fight for the freedom of the people of Ambazonia. My work was done very easy. And later on, he cried tears. He removed the handkerchief. Because his people are dying. So here we are, we had come well prepared with tough suits, good perfumes from Paris, landed.
From Paris?
Oh yeah, from that party place called Paris. Yeah, but the perfume, apparently they steal African flowers from the tropics.
So you have a love-hate relationship with Paris. But yeah, they have very good perfumes.
You see?
From there, yeah.
So, it is not a joke anymore. Look at Sudan. 11 days to go. Riek Machar
wants an extension.
Why didn't we look at these problems that force extension and solve them before the extension? Before the deadline?
It's holding the whole country to ransom.
So where are we heading as Africa? Look at that mess. In Biafra, the killings go on. Mr. Buhari is busy wearing councils, walking in Saudi Arabia, telling people in Saudi Arabia, things are very well. What is well in southeast Nigeria? What is well? What is it? Why is it that America closes the embassy? Part of the embassy in Abuja because of the application for visa. People who don't return. When they looked at their data, they saw people who applied for visas. None of them came back. Things are not very good in Africa. And we cannot go on like this. Even when you thought Somalia could be so friendly to Kenya, there is a wedge that has been planted. The leaders here have stopped thinking for countries. We don't have the Siad Barre. We have malcontents like Faramijo with very bad toxins who have sold the country to Norway and to oxide oil. Floods come and destroy the entire part of Somalia, the country that wants water. The country that wants water so much. Are we all right in Africa? That water has gone in Indian Ocean. Nobody harnessed it. Nobody can build a dam. Faramijo is busy trying to stop the water in Indian Ocean. Yet he cannot put water in a dam in Somalia. Over a whole village is underwater. The whole town in Somalia. They have suffered. Terrorists are eating them on a daily basis. Water comes to eat them on another basis. What the hell is Africa? What type of leader is this? Who cannot even marshal an airlift because he hates Kenya? He cannot ask the Kenya KDF to come and rescue people. Is that a leader you want in Africa? Tell me. That's the Africa we have. South Africa is surrounded by huge water. But water in the toilets is missing.
Yeah,
does it? Honestly.
A water crisis. Yeah.
There is a water crisis in South Africa.
And they're surrounded by water.
Surrounded by water in all directions.
The irony of it all.
It's the irony of Africa. This is the Africa we have. And yet there is no water crisis in Kampala, which is on top of the mountain up towards the higher you go, the cooler it becomes. Are we all right? Is Africa thinking?
Is Africa thinking? Very good question there, Doctor. And Tuesday, I think you're not here. You were busy during the morning show. Is it Tuesday? No. Today's Friday, so Wednesday you had to leave and leave me complete the other part of the show. So there was a news from South Sudan that the government on Tuesday has held a meeting with, and it's looking to auction 18 of its oil blocks, and there were like over 600 companies that were interested that turned out to South Sudan for this oil block. And you're wondering, what is happening there? Is that even supposed to be a priority? South Sudan's government holding a workshop for, the oil blocks for auctioning. And over 16 foreign companies, over 600 foreign companies showed interest and showed up in that workshop, regardless of the state of South Sudan right now.
You know what? You think they care? And if you refuse to give them the oil, they will come for you, baby. You see? That's the situation that everybody does not know.
Or if you refuse to give them the oil?
They will come. They will come. The 160 companies.
No, 600 over.
600 companies.
Showed interest.
Now that is where, that is where chaos. That's why the agreement in South Sudan cannot be achieved. These are going back. They go, oh, can we meet the rebel leader? If you go, they give money. They can give you, Mark, look at me. I've been in these rebel activities. I know how these countries play their game internationally. We used to be on BBC. This is the voice that was on BBC Focus on Africa with Robin White. This one here. It has only grown fat for eating chips. But this is me. It was me. Focus on Africa, BBC. Focus on Africa, right from London with Robin White, David Matanga. This is it. I am the one. So we used to insult Museveni every day. One day, the British government turned on us one night. You know, people don't know. They wrote to me as a letter and said, if you are ever found in that studio again, I'm telling you, international conspiracy is very dangerous. As an African, be careful. Don't play in. Where is Savimbi? Where is Savimbi? Savimbi used to kill his fellow Angolans. Where is he? They rejected him, and when he died like a cat, small rat with hair of bullets, supported by satellite systems that were picking his phone and the transmitting signal to the MPLA forces. Where is Savimbi? It's gone. So when you are dealing with these international agencies, careful. We used to be the darling, Focus on Africa. Head reports, this is Robin White with me in the studio. This is Dr. David Matanga, right from London. But one day they turned on us. And you know what? After I fought so hard for the return of political parties in Uganda, because Uganda was a single party, there was now usefulness. When the parties returned, I have these letters with me, by the way.
The parties came.
Yes, the parties were returned. The British government wrote to me a letter from the Foreign and the Commonwealth Office that there has been dramatic change in the development and the relationship between Uganda government and our government. And as a result, we are engaging them. And therefore, we would like to request that a hostile approach cannot be taken at this moment. Thank you. These are not the ones who gave me the BBC. So I know all these things.
Interesting.
Any country in Africa with oil, which says I've got oil, it has a target, it is a target, is a problem. I agree with anybody. Biafra, look, what is making people fight in Nigeria? Why is Buhari not being pushed out? It's because he is telling them, my friend, you push me out, you might not get a gallon. While we are fighting this Somalia price dispute, Shell Oil, the Dutch company, has already paid some Somalis money. You saw that.
Even before the extraction.
For rent. You are renting an ocean? You don't know. How can the Dutch are part of the civilization in the world? The Boer who went to South Africa to conquer the Cape of Good Hope. They are paying for an ocean they don't know. It's an escalation of the points, the problems that Africa faces. And I want to tell you, the Sudan 600 companies looking for oil to sell those oil. That's why Riak is not coming. You hadn't told me that. That's why Riak is not coming. He can't come. Those same companies, as soon as they left Juba, they flew into Khartoum.
And also it was discovered when I was doing that news that the president paid other, I don't know, is it a Chinese company or other foreign companies that had supplied the army with whatever it is. He did not even specify, but he paid them through the oil without even being passed or allowed by parliament.
China. I mean, there you are. So those are sticking points. I told you. As soon as some of these companies left Juba, they got into their private jets and landed in Khartoum. And they started promising Mr. Riek Machar, don't worry, we shall provide you 2 jet fighters, we shall provide you this, you can send...
It's very possible.
But, my dear sister, I have been in the game. I've been in the game. I know it. Hello? I've been there.
So Riek Machar has said he will not be coming. He's seeking for another extension, which I think should not be allowed. I don't know what's your position. And
look at how these countries divide the Ambazonians. Let's take an example of the Ambazonians. Can we go?
They've not been getting...
Some country called Switzerland said, come and we talk.
Mediate.
I want some of my friends, one of them I interviewed here. I said, be careful. What interest has Switzerland got? Now you can see exactly the stalemate. You cannot discuss with a country that has hammered life sentence to the same people that you want to free. You tell me. Free these guys first. These guys were sentenced to life. Very early in the morning at 5 a.m., Paul Biya, military junta, Mitwabino, sentenced the freedom fighters that you want to liberate to life imprisonment. Therefore, one of the conditions, it is like the Attorney General of Republic of Kenya going to file a case in the court where the Somali is the head of the court. Have you ever seen that in life? Can we close the subject if you are finished?
I'm finished.
I don't have anything much. Have you ever seen something like that? This is a butcher who knows your cow. That cow of Miriam is black and white spots.
It's a hybrid.
Hybrid, well, with good meat.
Yes.
Then you go there and say, keep this cow, don't cut it.
You're taking it to the butcher.
And I'm bringing more notes about how the leg grew like this. You will find the butcher has cut it. And that's how Kenya took its case to the ICJ. They saw a Somali deputy president. They continued with it. They pick allowances here and fly into the Hague.
And the allowances were in tune of how much?
3 billion.
In
God bless us.
In 4 months.
I don't know. God bless us. I went with bed and breakfast, conquered it, scattered it. Hallelujah. That judge will not come on the panel next year. Until June. When it reaches June, we shall cross the bridge. When we have crossed, we might extend more. Tutaenda na nyenye, this Faramijo. By then, Faramijo would be gone. I've put my feet down for Faramijo to be removed. You don't try Matanga in international relations and defeat me. Jaribu, you Mr. Faramijo. I also studied in the same colleges that the Europeans studied Even I was better. First class honors. Hakuna simple, ordinary. Ziko, what? You can't defeat me on that route. Faramijo will be gone. That small prime minister of Somalia will be gone. I am on them. Until they come back on table and talk like Africans, they will be gone. They will be nyambarang up there, chop. Not walking in the power in Somalia. I have nothing to lose. Because I've grown, I've seen the experience I have. So try me. Try me. You leave a country being cut by Al-Shabaab. Then you leave a country being taken by floods. Then you go around and tell people, I'm my Somalia. Which is Somalia? Floods come and finish people. You can't have even one helicopter to airlift people from the water. Because you have created enmity with Kenya. KDF cannot go there to rescue people. People are dying. What the hell is this? Is it the Africa that we want?
Augusta's Echo Hold, good morning. It is afternoon here in Nairobi, and a very happy new month to you too. Thank you so much for joining us together with Noachuku at the news. What is that? Noachuku, good afternoon to you. Thank you so much.
Viewers, that's the sadness of Africa that we have. A place where God comes, weeps, but doesn't drop tears. A Sudan where peace comes, extension, politics of deadline, politics hammered with extensions, timelines broken. Now we have a dilemma. 11 days to go. And I will keep on reminding Sudanese everywhere they are. We have 11 days to sign.
Yes.
Less than that, I will then on that day reveal which country has a draft resolution for the tribunal. God believe. Bye-bye. That's all I can say. Miriam Analyst, you want to greet people over the weekend?
Are you done?
What are you going to do over the weekend? Bowling?
Probably tomorrow, but I'm not quite sure. But we will see them here on Sunday.
No, first tell a bit. People are interested in knowing where you are going.
Like I've said here, and I reiterate, I'm a very boring person. You will not get much from me. But Doctor has a very exciting life, so he should tell us.
What?
Your life is full.
It's full of what?
Very colorful.
Colorful in which manner?
Wonderful 64
I want
years.
you to take...
You have a lot to share.
64, yes.
Wonderful, yeah.
Yes. I have a lot to share.
Yes.
I also want to share bowling. You can hear the laughter, viewers out there. I would like to go for bowling, but I've been denied.
It's an open public place.
I can't go there. I don't know how to hit the ball.
All right,
I need Miriam to go and teach me how to teach. Yeah, call me, invite me officially, publicly.
Good.
Hey.
We shall do that. And it's normally very nice when we're like 3 or 4 or 5 people. It's more fun like that when you have a bigger team. So we should even get Steve. I don't know if you will agree. Did you see he shaved? I don't know where we're going with this conversation.
Is Steven around? Can I see my Steve?
He shaved off the beard.
Yeah, that's very good. And he's come back. You know, I was getting scared. You know, some of these things is Jeff creating the problems on a Friday like this. Jeff, you have a problem now. And why were you telling he's shaved?
He did yesterday. I was like, oh, this is a whole new person.
Then we bring him along for bowling.
He should come.
Steve, you are invited for bowling. I courtesy of Miriam Agut.
All right.
Thank you very much. If you can only send a signal through my control system behind here and say agreed.
Does he have a choice? This is a special invite, Steve.
A special invite, Steve. No choice. I told you. You know, when it reaches me, Miriam cannot accept quickly. No, I don't know why you don't accept me to come for bowling.
Why you?
I want to know. Yes.
You want to know why?
Why I am not accepted to come for bowling.
Why are we? This is conspiracy theories. We need to stop. What I said is it's normally very fun when you're
very many
3, 4, 5 people. Yes, when you have a whole team and you compete, and it's good. So that is what I said. So I don't know where that is coming from, but that is what I stated. Stop misquoting me. Okay. Thank you very much, Miriam. We see you on Sunday. Viewers, wherever you work, keep Africa running. Keep the whole dream of Africa standing. All the people of Cameroon, all the people of Ambazonia, we are with you. All the people of Biafra, we are with you. On Sunday, we shall look at Ambazonia, the peace process, and then we shall look at Biafra, why the killings have intensified. Thank you very much. And we shall also look at 9 days left for Sudan to sign a peace government agreement to form a peace, an agreement, and a government of national unity. So we have 3 exciting topics to talk on Sunday.
Plus Somalia, of course. We don't know what is happening next. And Kenya, by then maybe the BBI would have come out.
Yes.
The people are anxious to see.
Back?
Yes, the president is 100% back in the country.
That's good. So, yeah.
And therefore we are waiting for the BBI to come out. BBI means redemption strategy, but building of bridges is part of the adage that they used. Thank you very much. But it's a redemption strategy to make sure that Uhuru Kenyatta lives a united Kenya, a Kenya with unity of purpose, not a Kenya with tribal enclaves and a tribal chauvinism that has made Miriam to go through Turkana to arrive in Siaya.
I don't want that to happen. And if you know where Turkana is, for me to arrive in Siaya, no. So we need peace.
Yes,
we need
peace. And the peace.
And peace.
There is nothing, no shortcut.
Yes.
Thank you very much, viewers. God bless you. This station is for Africa, by Africa, with Africa. And Zimbabwe, we had forgotten. Zimbabwe. There seem to be people, the opposition are moving to impeach the president.
We're having an impeachment process.
Yes, again.
I thought we only had one there.
No, I read this morning. They are working with some members of ZANU-PF. They would like to impeach Emerson Mnangagwa.
Grace.
So we have a problem here on our hands. Viewers, Africa needs a surgeon. Not from here, but from God.
Yeah.
Yeah, or Mars.
Okay.
Thank you very much. We pray for all of you. This station is for Africa, with Africa, by Africa. Ciao.